Hello, everyone, and welcome to session 11 of Financial Statement Analysis series. My name is Shailesh, and we will be continuing our discussion around analyzing revenues generated via related party transactions. Now, this is a continued discussion from our previous session, session 10. So for viewers who are watching this video for the first time, we would recommend that you take a look at the reading 10 video first, and then maybe perhaps this reading. Now, in our previous discussion, we talked about how to go about studying related party transactions, what related party transactions are, and how it plays a funny role in terms of consolidation as well as standalone revenue figures, and as well as sometimes how related party transactions don't really impact the consolidated figures in the way one would assume it to be in the case of subsidiaries, joint ventures, or associates. And not all related party transactions would be with these entities, because there could be certain transactions which are done by the parent company with another private company where the management of the parent company may have deemed interests. This disclosure is, by the way, mandated by accounting standards to ensure that the investors in a company are very well aware of what kind of conflict of interest situation might be there, and analyze those situations in a perfectly fine manner so that you can take a well-informed decision whether you want to invest in that company or not. Now, we also discussed how not all related party transactions would be bad. And in fact, this reading is all about that, how to analyze related party transactions and what angles can one take a look at, and how to go about investigating these related party transactions. So the case study at point which we have taken is Mirza International. In fact, let me walk you through step-by-step process. How is it that you can uncover the related party transactions and see if any foul play is happening with the particular company or not. So here we have annual report 2020 of Mirza International. If you open the income statement, which is present on page 122, you can judge that the business actually roughly generates revenue of 1261 crores. So 1260 crores by selling shoes across their customer base. Now, out of these 1261 crores, if you want to take a look at the breakup, how much from the products and how much from other operating revenues, you can always take a look at note 18, which is present on 134. As you can see, in roughly 1220 odd crores are generated from sale of products. Now, to talk about does the business engage into any sort of related party transactions, you will have to navigate through the footnotes and scroll down to get the related party transactions footnote. Obviously, this footnote number is not really standard through any annual report. However, it roughly ranges in the domain of 30 to 40. You will not find this number anywhere on income statement or balance sheet, but in fact, these are additional footnotes which are provided as a disclosure for an analyst to be able to judge whether management has any sort of conflict of interest, and whether there is any foul play going on with the company, and see the quantum of the transactions which are done by the management, which is overseeing the operations of the business, financed by your funds. So take a look at this. This is reading number, this is note number 30, related party transactions. You will see there are purchase transactions, job work expenses, rent, sales, job work income, and likewise. Now, if you scroll down a bit more, you will see how exactly they are defining related parties, because not all related party transactions or not all related parties would be subsidiaries or associates or joint ventures, but in fact, there could be certain related parties which are not really owned by the shareholders, but are indirectly owned by the promoters of the company or the management of the company. So as you can see in the related parties list, you will see quite a lot of private companies, once again, indirectly somewhere or the other owned by the management who is running this business of Mirza International. The names of the key management personnel who have this conflict of interest is already present here. We will be using this, by the way. I'll show you how to do that. So let's get started with the analysis. Now, when you take a look at the sales part, you will see that a significant amount of Mirza UK, significant amount of sales, which is, because these figures are in lakhs, near about 154 crores sales are made by Mirza India to Mirza UK. Now, even though the number says volume, it's basically the dollar amounts, which, or rather the rupee amount, which we are talking about. And this is the ending balance, obviously something which we won't be using, but yes, this does matter to us. So 154 crore sales out of 1200 and I think 60 odd crores. So 1260 crores out of 1260 crores, 154 crore sales are made by the company to a private company, maybe perhaps owned partially or maybe fully. We are yet to check on that by the key management person list mentioned here. And as you can see, you can take a look at this. Mirza UK Limited is part of that list, and to which these sales are made. Now, we've tried to note down these figures over a period of time, and as you can see, to judge what quantum of revenues are actually being generated from related party transactions, let's take a look. So as you remember, 1260 odd crores, which we saw as revenue from operations, out of which 1220 odd crores, we saw these figures in the footnote of revenue from operations, and out of those 154 crores are actually generated from the Mirza UK. Precisely the screenshot from the annual report page 141 we are referring to right now. So as you can see, nearly 13% of overall sales are contributed through related party transactions with Mirza UK Limited. Now that's a significant number, because remember, if a particular customer is usually contributing more than 10%, that's huge. And especially, raises eyebrows when that particular customer has indirect ownership by the management of the company which you are trying to invest in. So yes, it definitely makes sense and warrants investors' attention to take a look at if there is any foul play happening there. So over the period of time, when you see, in fact, in 2013, it was as high as 42%. Now, you would wonder, a significant amount of transactions happening with the parent-owned company by the listed company to which you are financing, and not parent-owned company, but management-owned company. Now, let's take a look and find out a bit more about Mirza UK, who actually owns it and how much. So now this process is actually very rigorous, because often people assume that if you are sitting as a director on the company, you would be owning that company. That's not really always the case. So, here are a couple of things which we would like to highlight how to go about navigating through that analysis and finding out who owns this Mirza UK Limited. Now, we obviously know that Mirza UK Limited has somewhere or the other a deemed interest, or rather, our management seems to be owning, at least some piece of it, but we are not really sure whether they own majority of it. So that is something which we need to take. Why are we taking a look at that? Because once we know if management is completely owning that piece, that should raise a bit of governance concerns, maybe, then eventually take a look at fairness of the transactions to ensure that there is no foul play happening there. So let's take a look at Mirza UK Limited. Now, because this company is based out of the UK, you can open UK's MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs equivalent website. By the way, this link we have mentioned in our blog here. You can directly click on this link. You will open a page, something like this. Now, this is a UK government website where UK-based companies, their financials are available free of cost, something which, by the way, happens to be a brilliant source for you guys to take a look at and talk about any particular company. So when you go to filing history, you will see that 2020 annual report has been filed by Mirza UK. It's a 37-page document. I've opened that for you guys for your reference here. So I just showed you how to download a UK company's financials, even if it's a private company. You can download it from the UK's UK equivalent MCA website. And this is the annual report of Mirza UK Limited. Why are we doing this? Once again, to find out who actually owns this business and what does this business do? Because it's quite possible that Mirza UK may be manufacturing some bit of shoes on its own and then perhaps buying some bit of shoes from Mirza International. But if Mirza UK, is into different sort of business, then maybe perhaps, some bit of research around that should give us more clarity on what's exactly happening in these related party transactions. So when you actually open Mirza UK Limited, you will see that the directors list R.A. Mirza. So, let me actually open up the list of directors for Mirza International. Now, this is a listed Indian company, Mirza International. R.A. Mirza is Rashid Ahmed Mirza. By the way, you will also find this list of directors in the people section on the MCA equivalent UK website. you will see that the RA Mirza is basically Mirza Rashid Ahmad, precisely the same guy who is also promoter of Mirza International. The second one is PJ Mugglestone. Now, because it's a UK-based company, maybe perhaps they have some feet on the ground to sell the shoes bought by Mirza UK from Mirza International. As you can see, if you scroll down, PJ Mugglestone is basically a sales director. So yeah, he's pretty much an employee, not really an owner. Maybe perhaps some bit of owner, but yeah, majority of the ownership would be either through the company directors, which we see here. Another thing is A. Habib. Now, when you take a look at A. Habib, he's one necessary Anwarul Habib. He's a UK citizen, but he's technically speaking a company secretary sort of a arrangement. So not really, much of ownership there by those guys as well. And T Mirza, once again, T Mirza is Tausif Ahmad Mirza. And again, you can verify this from here. Tausif Mirza, he is. So what we have established is majority of the directors happen to be the same directors in our publicly listed company. When we actually browse through this company, let me, take your attention to page 4. The principal activity of the business is shoe import and wholesalers. Now, the funny part is this business basically imports shoes and sell those shoes out there in the UK market. So this company is basically buying shoes from Mirza International and selling those shoes to Mirza UK. If you actually open Mirza UK website, you will see primarily all of their imports come from Mirza International. So which means it's basically a wholesale outlet which is completely owned by the company's directors in UK. Makes you wonder, why did not our company open a subsidiary in UK and start selling it? Let's hold on to those thoughts and analyze this company first, and we'll come back to those thoughts to see the fairness of the transactions. Remember, we are not trying to judge or jump to the gun, judging fairness right away. Let's first understand who actually owns Mirza UK Limited and how to find out that information. So when you actually scroll through to, let's say, page number 15, you will see that this company is broadly owned by RTS Fashions Private Limited. Now, this RTS Fashions Private Limited is a company based out of India. If you actually want to know more information about any Indian listed company, all you need to do is directly go to the MCA website. On the MCA website under LLP Master Data, you can find out about any particular company. So let's actually search here. Hang on, the name of the company was RTS Fashions Private Limited. So let me just quickly type it here. So RTS Fashion. So search RTS Fashion. What am I trying to find out here? Whether the same guys own this parent company or not. So the directors which we saw, okay, there seems to be some kind of error. Let me just try and refresh the MCA page. RTS Fashion. Sure. Yeah. So RTS Fashion is a Kanpur-based company. Once again, the directors in the company, just take a look at the names. It's again the Mirza family, the same guys who are basically owning, or rather are management of, Mirza International. Now, I mentioned one very important thing. Just because you are a director doesn't mean you necessarily own that company. Now, to establish that, you need to have information who is actually driving that company or influencing that company. So, obviously it happens to be the case that the owner would definitely be a director on the board of the company, since it happens to be all Mirza. In fact, we did a bit more groundwork around finding out who's actually driving that company. There's this wonderful website, wakilsearch.com. If you search for RTS Fashions in there, you will find out that this company is actually driven by these Mirzas, which means definitely it's the Mirzas who's owning Mirza UK Limited. Don't let the names throw you off. And before jumping the gun, every one of you should do this background search. Just because the company has that particular guy on the board of directors doesn't mean he will be owning that company. But now that we have thoroughly established, given there's no other director and these directors are basically driving that business, moreover, they seem to be indirectly holding Mirza UK through an Indian listed company, Indian private company called RTS Fashions Private Limited. So indirectly, what promoters of Mirza International are doing is they have another company which owns Mirza UK Limited, who's basically buying shoes from their another owned entity, which is partially owned, but owned by the public because it's a listed company, and selling it out there. Now, clearly, let me actually once again summarize it through a graphical manner. So this is Mirza International. Now, this is a listed company. Now, this listed company is not completely owned by promoters. This sells shoes to Mirza UK. And Mirza UK is indirectly owned by the promoters of the same company. And these guys sell shoes out there. Now, as I told you, having related party transactions, and we have thoroughly established who owns this private company. Just because there are related party transactions doesn't mean that this company is doing something wrong. So before jumping to the conclusion, let's evaluate the fairness of the transaction. Now, one may think, how is it that we are going to evaluate the fairness of the transaction? To judge the fairness of the transaction, one need to establish how much profit through this arrangement Mirza UK is making. Because see, if Mirza UK is making exorbitant amount of profits, that would only mean that they are buying cheap from Mirza International and selling at an expensive price in UK markets, which, by the way, Mirza International could have done directly by establishing a subsidiary in UK and sell it out there, right? So see, not every business would want to get into each and every transactions, which is why sometimes it's okay to let go of certain costs to different distributors. You pay certain commissions and they will sell it out there. But one need to judge what kind of commission the distributors are getting, and when especially those distributing businesses are completely owned by the promoters of your own company, to ensure that there is no foul play going on and the shareholders are not getting robbed of the money. So what we did is we basically tried to get a quantum of this. How do you get a quantum of these figures? Obviously, by taking a look at financial statements of Mirza UK Limited. I've already showed you how to extract the financial statements of Mirza UK Limited. Let's quickly browse through the income statement of Mirza UK Limited, which happens to be on page number 11. Now, when you take a look at Mirza UK Limited income statement, the business seems to be loss-making in 2020, but it was profit-making in 2019. Let's not be hasty. Just because the business is loss-making, it's good for Mirza International. Let's not be hasty. You need to judge over a period of time how much business is actually making profits. Another way of looking at it would be to judge the cash flow statement of this private company, how much cash it's actually generating from operating activities, because that's genuinely the cash rather than being thrown across by non-operating items. And likewise, but hey, a business may engage into a couple of non-operating items as well. So let's judge the business based on, let's say for now, let's judge the business based on net income. So what I have done here is we have collated the data of Mirza UK, as you can see in this image. Let me walk you through. You don't need to be overwhelmed by the size of the data analysis, but trust me, each and every one of you can do this analysis. It's very easy. So for 2020, as you can see, the turnover figure is 23651,402, and these are in GBP pounds. So 23651,402, as you can see, this is in pounds. And moreover, when you take a look at, let's say the PAT of that particular year is 1274510 in a negative. So it's a loss making 1274510. Now these are in GBP. So what I've done is I've basically used an exchange rate, and based on that exchange rate, I've converted this into INR lakhs, so that we can actually understand what quantum of money is being, or rather what quantum of money the company is trying to make profit of. So if I convert Mirza UK profit in INR, it's actually in lakhs, all these figures. So it's a 10 crore loss for 2020, but at the same time 1 crore profit for 2019-18. Now when you take a look at the profit figures, and let's take a look at profit figures of Mirza International India, basically parent company, you will see that it's obviously minuscule in front of the Mirza UK profits are very, very small in front of Mirza International Limited. However, like I said, let's not get carried away. Let's do a cumulative analysis, because remember, if Mirza International Limited had a subsidiary based out of UK, how much profit would that subsidiary make, precisely is what we are trying to find out, because if that profit is humongous as compared to the overall profit of the business, then perhaps we can conclude safely that there has been a significant wealth robbing by the promoters. So let's find out before we jump to any conclusions. So if you actually add all these profit figures over the years, you will get that nearly 25 crore profits across 8 years were is something what the promoters of Mirza UK, basically the owners of Mirza UK, made. So Mirza UK promoters, they made 25 crore profit across 8 years. Now one may think that 26 crores profit in 8 years as compared to the market cap of Mirza International, which is 1,000 crores today, it's not really much significant, because why am I comparing profits across 80 years? 80 years is not a small horizon, and the market cap basically represents the potential what the company has its equity valued at. So comparing 26 crores to 1,000 crores is it's very minuscule. So one may wonder. However, yes, you may also think of another angle for analyzing this. Let's not forget that's a profit generated by the business. It's quite possible that the directors, who, let's not forget, were the same directors as the promoters of our listed company, may be drawing salary. So जरूरी नहीं है कि बिजनेस सिर्फ प्रॉफिट से कमाता है, डायरेक्टर्स एक्सॉर्बिटेंट सैलरीज भी तो ले सकते हैं, so that business के अंदर प्रॉफिट नहीं छूटा बट अपने घर पे प्रॉफिट आ गया. So it's quite possible that the directors may be taking exorbitant salaries over the years. And how do you get that data? Once again, we have financial statements at our disposal. All you need to do is you need to take a look at the footnote of directors' salaries. If you scroll down, you will get footnotes around employee expenses, where director remuneration would be present. Let me show you on screen so that you are able to make sense of those figures. So auditor's remuneration is there and director remuneration is there. So director remuneration in 2020 was 1,94,000 pounds. The same numbers which you can see, director remuneration 1,94,000 pounds. I've mentioned it here. After converting it to INR, it's nearly 1.5 crores. And let's say over the 8 years, naturally the promoters would have made a significant amount of salaries. And let's not forget, the remaining 2 promoters or directors who were there on board of directors were hardly secretary and director of sales. So they wouldn't be drawing much of director per se salary, but employee salaries. So if we were to take a look at it, ignoring those aspects, if we were to cumulate it, nearly 32 or 33 crore salaries went to the promoters of Mirza International from Mirza UK. Now, this is how the promoters of Mirza International have been making money. So one is through director salary from Mirza UK, and Mirza UK profit, because let's not forget Mirza UK is still 100% owned by the directors. So Mirza UK जो कमा रहा है वो भी प्रमोटर की कमाई होती है, और Mirza UK से जो प्रमोटर अपनी डायरेक्टर वाली सैलरी ले रहा है वो भी प्रमोटर की कमाई है. So technically this figure which we talked about was nearly 26 odd crores, and this is nearly 33 odd crores. If we add it together, it's nearly 59 odd, or let's round it about to be 60 odd crores across 8 years. So basically the promoters made a profit, or hefty earnings around 60 odd crores across 8 years. Now 60 odd crores is not a small amount. If now we compare it to market cap 1,030, still some people would argue that the business grew from a 250 crore market cap to 1,000 crore market cap in last 8 years, and thanks to Mirza UK. Because had they not have had a presence in Mirza UK, they wouldn't have been able to sell products in the first place. Because establishing a ground team, a subsidiary, takes a bit of time. Establishing that brand value takes a bit of time, and naturally to get the ball rolling again takes a bit of time. So one may argue, is 60 crores the opportunity cost of not, or rather 60 crores is the cost of not establishing a subsidiary in UK and running it? Because again, that would require establishing directors, salaries, which let's not forget Mirza UK was already doing. So that 60 crore extra money which the company lost is the money which the business would have made if they had established a subsidiary in UK. So even if, let's say, operational expenses, after deducting those operational expenses, we calculated the profit of Mirza UK, right? So technically speaking, that 60 crores excess profit would have been part of Mirza International's consolidated statements if they had directly established a subsidiary in UK. And that 60 crore would have meant a lot. So assuming a PE ratio of, let's say, 15, if you were to compute it, you would have got a, a significant increase in market cap of about 900 crores. Now, people can argue in multiple logics here that, it's a 60 crore amount. If you compare it to market caps, it's very insignificant. Let's not forget the ride which Mirza India, or Mirza International, basically the listed company, had on the back of Mirza UK operations, because, had they established a new subsidiary from scratch in 2013, maybe the same kind of growth rate one wouldn't have got as compared to the established brand of Mirza UK there in those markets, even though it's the same product. But to have started operations from scratch and scaling up in 8 years may not have resulted into the same amount of money which Mirza UK made. So yes, all kind of arguments can be made here towards the pros and cons, but what we are trying to explain through this example, without jumping to any conclusions that Mirza International promoters did something wrong there. Yes, though what an analyst should take a look at is the quantum of the figures. Now, see, the flow in which we actually analyze these related party transactions are this: we first establish who owns that private company. So basically, who is getting that money and how much. To judge the quantum and fairness of the transactions over a period of time, we accumulated those figures and, came up with a number which happens to be a loss to the parent company had they, because they did not establish a subsidiary based out of UK. But, if we were to talk about that fictitious world, maybe that loss wouldn't have, or rather they wouldn't have been able to gain all of that profit, given the challenges of establishing a brand right from scratch in competition with Mirza UK, because they wouldn't have quit the profession, right? So, these kind of questions definitely leaves us in a gray area as compared to a simple black and white area where you try to simply blame the promoters of, siphoning of money of around 60 crores, which is, clearly not the case, in my opinion. Obviously, this is something which opens a lot of doors for discussions. Yes, some of you guys may argue with the PE logic that it's not really generating a 60 crore profit every year, right? How can you actually multiply it to the PE ratio and come up with a 900 crore market cap? But, like I said, this 900 crore market cap would have, so the company which grew from 250 crore to 1000 crore, maybe perhaps would have at least grown to 1500 crores, if not 900 crores. Even if, let's say, they were to establish a subsidiary on their own and make, instead of 60, let's say a 30 crore profit, half of what Mirza UK was making in the first place. So still, it's a loss, a clear loss to the investor community who basically belong to the Mirza International. So yes, in my opinion, this seems to be sort of a wealth transfer. As a current update to this scenario, recently, the promoters of the company announced that, obviously, and goes without saying that this is clearly just my opinion. I could very well be wrong in my analysis in some places, and in case if you feel that some other opinion has to be incorporated, I'm more than happy to discuss this in terms of comments and talk about different scenarios here. However, yes, the only point which seems to be baffling us, once again, in our humble opinion, is that the 60 crore, which was a loss to the parent company, maybe perhaps it would have led to some bit of profit if the parent company would have established a direct subsidiary in UK. Now, as a current update on Mirza International is that the company seems to have established a merger amalgamation arrangement with the Mirza UK. Now Mirza UK is getting amalgamated into Mirza International. So if in the first place they would have done this, perhaps would have led to a lot of wealth creation for the investors of Mirza International as compared to what they see and they have seen over a period of time. So the amalgamation would have made a lot more benefit, would have been a lot more beneficial perhaps to the investors had it been done, let's say a 10-year back horizon or a 5-8 years back horizon. All right, now this is precisely, in our opinion, how you should go about analyzing related party transaction. And as a very important conclusion, there's no such thing as white and black when it comes to financial statement analysis, especially when it comes to related party transactions. There are pros and cons to each and every angle. Now, without actually jumping to conclusion, an analyst should always judge the pros as well as the cons of the analysis and eventually make an opinion if they have any about the same. We are more than happy to hear your thoughts around the same. Please do make sure you mention those in the comments, as well as at the same time, we would love to see you guys like the video as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel for more educative content. You can also follow us on Instagram. We have quite a lot of educative content there, such as business analysis series, valuation series, entrepreneurship series, and we've recently launched Fresher Ka Pressure as well as a couple of current awareness series as well on Instagram handle. All right, that's it for today. In the next session, we are going to talk about how analyzing revenues from customer concentration perspective is so important with, again, listed Indian companies case studies. So I look forward to seeing you guys in the next session. Thank you so much for your time.